Over the years, probably one of the most frequently asked questions we get about our software is how does it do in maiden races? And while most of our programs do well in maiden races, especially in maiden races where most of the horses have had have had several starts, but we haven't had an a program that exclusively focused on maiden races, both maiden claiming and straight maiden races until now. And we've just introduced the Mark III Maiden Super Module software, again, which applies exclusively to maidens. This is by the same fellow who did, Bruce Markham, the same fellow who did the Mark III Long Shot program, and which, again, overall, probably one of the best long shot programs we've ever seen. The author, Bruce Markham, did several methodologies over the years that specialized in certain areas. And this one, what we have found once we really got into it, and Len completed all the programs and added some of all of his algorithms, was this is one of the most accurate programs of all we've seen, not just for maidens, but most accurate from a win and place standpoint of all. Now, we talked initially about how important it is to specialize at the track. If you really want to be successful, you need to have some specialties. And most professional players may have several. They may have a methodology for claiming races, a methodology for tracking certain trainers or trainer angles, methodology for long shots, a methodology for maidens. And that's what this particular program is. It's a specialist program for maiden races. And Bruce writes here about, and you can all identify this, he calls it the bizarre history of the maiden race from a viewpoint of even the most seasoned handicappers. And he talks about how there's probably no two words in the English language that strike more fear into the handicapper's heart than maiden races. And racing lore from the very beginning has warned handicappers of the unplayable maiden races. And most systems, especially from the old day, I'll say, don't play maidens, they're too unpredictable. Well, it turns out that maiden races are not that unpredictable. In fact, and again, this is true even with guys like Ray Talbot and stuff, who changed his tune after in the 1960s, but initially didn't want anything to do with maiden races at all. But what Bruce has found, he said he found out quite by accident several years ago that I had also bought into the myth maiden races are bad news. But in fact, they're the most predictable type of races offered on the average daily race card. And he shows you some stats here where he looked at 8,500 claiming races between 6,000 and 40,000 at all tracks, looked at the average win mutual. The average win mutual, when you take them all together, was $10.73. Then he took a look at 8,500 maiden races and found the overall mutual was $8.99, almost $2 less. So what that tells us is that the maiden races are actually much more formful than races carded for low-level claimers. And we'll put a low-level allowance horses in there as well. And then if you focus just on straight maiden races, the average mutual was only $8.11, meaning they're much, much more formful. So there's no reason to fear maiden races. They are actually very predictable. But you do need a tool to find a winner in these races, and that's what this program does. Here's an example of a screenshot here. And the program relies heavily on recency, on a horse's recent races, and really focuses heavily on workouts, on the distance, the days since the last workout, the last couple workouts. There's other information in there as well, but it's heavily on recency, horse's recency, usually within 60 days, and workout recency, workout time, workout furlongs, and Len wove this all together in a really neat algorithm that makes this very, very predictable. And as you can see, we found that the selected horses again that will receive the bonus message. You'll see down below We've got this on all our programs now where it says bonus higher win place percentage. Well, that means that the horse picked in this particular race, this type of horse, wins or places this rate at a much higher than normal average race. It actually shows a long-term positive ROI in the database. So when a horse does get a bonus message, that makes the horse even more likely to win or place. And in all the tests, Len found that the horse wins or place in the 55 to 66% range, which is pretty darn high. If you think about it, we can't think of too many other systems other than chalk systems that do this. Now, the program works primarily best with odds of 5 to 1 and under. That's where you'll get your highest hit rates in those ranges. And we had Bob Sherwig. We always have Bob Sherwig take a look at our programs because he's a really, really good evaluator. He just looks at everything and then rechecks, so we know we can rely on his stats. And he said he checked some smaller tracks, Belterra, Tampa, Golden Gate, and a few others, and he found that the win-place race was steadily in the 61 to 68% range, which was even higher than the average. And even though big tracks did well, the smaller tracks, as far as hit rate goes, seemed to do even better. Now, some of the best profit situations, we found some really, really great ranges. If you just concentrated your play in these odds ranges, you do very well. Here at the 7 to 5, when a morning line, this is the morning line odds, a morning line is 7 to 5, we had a 70% ROI. When the morning line is 2 to 1, a 90% ROI. And again, these are a lot of samples, what Len calls his flash scan samples, that showed this return. Now you go to 5 to 2 and it's only 8.18%. It's still a profit. 7 to 2, 37%. 4 to 1, 25%. So sticking to those odds ranges alone showed the best overall ROI. And again, these are horses that do show the bonus messages down below. As far as distances, it turns out the most commonly run distance for maidens, by far the most common, 6 furlongs. Where the bonus pick is also shows higher win or higher win place, 56% ROI in the 6 furlong races. So if you combine your 6 furlong, also 6.5 showed a profit, but a small one. If you combine your odds ranges, profitable odds ranges with the distance, then you're going to have a higher hit rate and a really decent ROI. What Len does is he does something called flash scans, and he takes his database and he'll say the database is instructed to look at a random number of races, usually between 50 and 100, and then dozens and dozens of these scans are run. So they take random races, they run them several dozen times, and then you get an average. And then he takes an average of what from all the scans and see what he comes out with. And they look like this. He as you can see, at the far left is the morning line. The middle column is the saddle cloth, the horse's number, and the final column is where the horse finished. And you can see in this long string of races, and again, there's about 80 some races in the sample. And if we go down and we cut off where, again, we told you 5 to 1 or under, you can see the large number of, and again, the lower odds, the more likely win in place. But look at all the 1s and 2s in here. So actually, for this sample, there's a 63.4%, 33 wins or places out of 52 races. Now that's really, really high. And if you're an exacta player, a win place player, a horizontal player, you're going to be able to hit a lot more wagers simply by keying horses like these than you ever have before. And again, we show you again here a screenshot and how the program works. Again, we focus on horses under 8 to 1 overall for the program. If they're over 8 to 1 on the morning line, we eliminate them because almost the vast majority of the hits occurred at 5 to 1 and under, actually, although there were some pretty good hits at the higher odds of 6 to 1, 8 to 1. And the Again, we told you the program judges horses' readiness and potential by focusing on the two most recent workouts, and we show you up here where we have the workout time, the day since the last workout, the second workout back. So again, and also the recency of the horse, the morning line of the horse. All this combines into really what we think is an absolutely amazing program from a win and place percentage. And it's something that players really need, because again, so many players are still intimidated by maiden races. But here's a tool where you're going to see, again, the vast majority of the horses that the program picks and that also have the bonus message that are gonna 60% plus of the time you've got the first or second place horse. This horse, because of the accuracy of this program and what it took to program it, we're going to retail it for $149 when we release it to the general public, but you can get it for $97.50. Again, for RPM customers, we always give a break, and so you can get it for $97.50, providing you order in the next 14 days or so before we decide to go live with it. So give us a call, 1-800-696-0067, or order from our website. Thanks. Talk to you next time.